This is part 2 of our series on working with walls in the multi-wall approach, which is Beck's standard for how to model exterior walls and interior walls. If you didn't watch our previous video, part 1, please do, because it will talk in detail about how we utilize exterior finish walls, backup walls, core walls, interior spurring walls, interior finish walls, and embedding multiple wall finishes in a host. The second part of this series is going to talk about some of the challenges that you'll find using this approach. It's a great approach, and even though it does have some challenges, it is the preferred method because of the flexibility it gives. But I do want you to be aware of the challenges when using this approach. The first challenge is, instead of having one wall to move, if you need to adjust dimensions and stuff like that, you may have 2 or 3. So not a big deal. You just need to make sure that you grab them all. So we're going to use the control key to select our 3 walls, and then we can move them, and they'll move together. And the embedded wall, what's interesting is it actually follows along. Even though I didn't grab that one, it decided to go with it anyway. So you always want to check any move that you make, both in elevation, plan, and 3D views, to make sure your change did what you expected it to do. The other second challenge I want to point out is when you place a door. So if I go and place a door, you want to place your door in the core wall or backup wall most times. Occasionally there'll be a different reason to put it in the finish wall, but typically you're going to put it in the core wall. Now you obviously notice that it didn't cut through. To get it to cut through, we need to use the join geometry tool, and that will cut it through. And if it doesn't, which, let me see, I'm outside of this, so let's see if we can get this other one to cut as well. We can. Good. Occasionally you won't, the Revit will just be a pain and one of them will not cut. If that happens, what I recommend is, let's back up, don't join, delete the door, join first. If the walls are joined first and then you add the door, I find that typically works better. You may not have that option though, because you may have already had the door in place, because a common workflow is to have your backup walls first, place your doors, and then come back and add finishes. So anyway, you can work around it. I just wanted you to know about it. The second thing you see here is the walls that are left unjoined have heavy lines. Now, is it the end of the world if you don't join these? No, but if you're kind of particular about your graphics as I am, you will want to go around and join these walls. It's the same tool, the join geometry tool, and go through and join your walls. You'll see some frustrating things like walls that are, this is a butt join condition. You can address that 2 ways. You can use the wall join tool and switch it to miter, and that would clean that up. Or if you don't want to do that, you can use the join geometry tool once again and pick on the end, and that will clean that up. So not terrible, but I did want you to be aware of that issue. The other thing that you might run into, let's put a grid over here and talk about dimensioning. So this is working using the tab. I can get to that location pretty well. Let me see if I'm going to be able to get to, it looks like I'm able to get to all of the places I'd want to dimension to. Let me make sure I can get to a different face. I've had challenges in the past with joined walls not being able to dimension where I want. So the workflow for that, if for some reason you can't get it to dimension to where you want, if you unjoin, put your dimension in, and then rejoin, you typically can get that dimension right where you want. And so anyway, all of these things are totally surmountable, and it doesn't really take that long to go through. But one of the downsides of the multi-wall approach is that you end up with many more objects to deal with than if this was all one wall. So in early design, I do recommend people use a composite wall, that's very generic. You've got a rain screen, nominal 2 inches over 8-inch backup or 12-inch backup, and you don't worry about the whole assembly when you're in early design. And then you start to break that up later. And we do have some videos on the best approach to walls during early design. But when you're ready to really document your building, this is the approach. So let's see. Let me check and see if I had any other items that are a concern. There is one more concern. It is fairly rare that it happens, but it is in regards to what's called a circular chain error. When you join elements together, they start to have relationships that you may not be able to see. I don't think I will be able to show you this error. But if I were, if sometimes what happens is if you go to move an element in a joined wall, you'll get an error pop up that's a circular chain of references can't do whatever it is you're trying to do. And you say, okay, what do I do? If you get that warning, the solution's very simple. All you have to do is unjoin the walls. You'll be able to do whatever change it was you were wanting to do, and then simply just rejoin them, and you'll be in good shape. So anyway, that's all for this video. We'll talk more about the multi-wall approach in wall sectioning in the next video. Thank you.